Hey, this is our remix summer series, and it's called That Moment When. See, it's about the daily life of a teenager. You all have that moment when you're given a choice to either bring good or bring evil. You have that moment when you can brighten someone's day or make it darker, right? You have that moment when you can obey your parents or disobey your parents. And you have that moment when you can give in to peer pressure or stand up against it. Now, I'm personally convinced that even before you get to that moment when, you must make up your mind to give every moment to God. Seriously, you want to always make the best decisions? It starts even before you get to the big decisions. But I'll come back to that in the end. This summer series is dedicated to your summer days, so I'm going to be telling a story about a girl named Summer. Yes, our summer series is about a girl named Summer. It's an imaginary girl, but an imaginary girl with very real problems. Well, not really problems, opportunities, if you will. So just so you know, Summer is your average high school. I'm waving at my friends as they're driving away. They might come talk to me. I think they're going to. They're talking to me. Hang on. All right, I'm back. So I'm recording this in my backyard, and a friend just went by, and I wanted to say hi. Anyways, I was telling you that this summer series is about an imaginary girl named Summer who has very real problems. We're gonna follow her through a typical day. Now, Summer is your average high school junior. She's involved at her high school in her band, and she's involved in her youth group at church, and she likes unicorns and corny jokes, and she gets along with most people, except for people who don't like unicorns and people who talk with their mouth full. Okay, she has two siblings. She has an older brother named Winter and a younger sister named Spring, and her best friend's name is Autumn. She has a favorite pillow. It's a Pillow Pet unicorn that she got when she was in 5th grade, and though it was deep pink when she was 11, it's now kind of like an off-white pinkish color. Anyways, it's perfect for holding over her head when she does not want to get up. Anyways, this is where the story starts. Actually, the night before our story starts, she was out late with her friends, and she got home. And when she got home, she spoke with her mom, and her mom said, "Before you go to work, I need you to do these things, because I know you want to hang out with your friends, and if you want to hang out with your friends, you need to do these 3 things." And so Summer was like, "All right, that's fine, we'll do that. I gotta be at work at 11, so I'll just set my alarm for 9, and that way I can get all these things done." Now, these are the 3 things she needed to get done. She needed to feed the gerbil, she needed to feed the neighbor's dog, and not just feed it, but let it out, you know, and then she needed to write thank you notes for her birthday before she could go to work at 11. Now, she sets her alarm for 9, and then she goes to sleep. And then she sleeps. And then her alarm goes off at 9, and she hits snooze. This is that moment when, right? She hits snooze again. She hits snooze again. Again, again, again. Oh, raise your hand if you're a snooze smacker. Okay, well, Summer hits the snooze button 10 times, and soon it's 10 o'clock. So she rolls out of bed, her hair all a-frazzle. She runs to the gerbil cage and cleans it out with a dazzle. She makes sure the gerbil is still alive and still in there, right? So she doesn't want to throw it out. Anyways, then she gives the gerbil some food. And then she rushes over to her neighbor's house with one flip-flop on and one flip-flop off. And she lets the dog out, and she's stamping her foot, stamping her foot, stamping her foot, stamping. "Won't you pee already?" And then the dog comes back in, wagging its tail, super happy, and she pets it, and then she runs back to her house, and as she gets to her house, she remembers she didn't actually feed the dog. And so then she rushes back, and she's like goes to the pantry where the dog food is, and she's in a hurry, so she grabs the bag, and then she spills the food all over the floor, and she's like, "Ah!" And then so she picks up all the food and then puts it in the bowl, and then puts the bag back in the pantry, and then she rushes back to the house. And then she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's 10 10:30 and I've got to be at work at 11. I need to take a shower because these pits stank, but I can't wash my hair. So she gets in and she does the shower thing, but she doesn't wash her hair because she doesn't have time to let it dry. She didn't want to go to work with wet hair. Anyways, then, well, you'll have to come back next week to find out what happens next. But instead of hitting snooze, let's talk about this. She probably should not have hit snooze so many times, right? She probably needed a better plan for her morning than waking up at 10 and rushing around and being all crazy. You see, here's the thing I want you to think about. You master your morning, you master your life. I'm serious. If you can have things in order in the morning, it helps everything else work out well. And I know sometimes we have crazy days, so that's not true. But for the most part, if you master your morning, you master your life. And actually, there's a proverb in the Bible that we're going to read today. It's from Proverbs chapter 6. You can look it up if you want. I've got my Bible right here. Proverbs chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. It uses a really cool word, so I think I'm going to read it in a really cool way. Are you ready? It goes like this. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? Okay, I'll stop now. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little slumber, you say, a little folding of the hands to rest. And poverty, read this, poverty will come on you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man. All right, so the writer back in the Old Testament says, hey, listen, lazy dude, lazy lady, you're all sleeping in and you're missing your moment. It actually says this, essentially, like, if you waste your morning, you waste your day. Like, you have to be careful, because if you waste your morning, you are going to be robbed of your day. Like, listen to this. It says, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Poverty is going to come on you like a bandit. You ever been jumped by a bandit or a robber? Anyways, this is what it's saying. You don't take care of your morning seriously, like, it's going to lead to trouble. No, Proverbs are awesome, but I think there's something that we can learn from Jesus, who's our master and probably the best teacher ever. He not only said awesome things, he did awesome things that I think we should imitate. So if you jump back to the New Testament, we're going to go to Mark 1, verse 35. Okay? Mark has already been describing the early ministry of Jesus and all the things that he was doing and what was important to him. Like, he had been baptized, and then he was tempted, and then he starts preaching, and then he starts calling his disciples, and then he starts teaching people, and he starts healing people, and then he heals his disciples' mother-in-law. And okay, so all these amazing things, stack. Like, Mark is wanting to give his readers this picture of who Jesus is and kind of like sum up what Jesus' message was and how he lived. And so, very beginning of his book, Mark says this, Mark chapter 1, verse 35. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, all the birds were chirping, tweet, 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 Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. I'll read that again, okay? Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Look, I think Jesus mastered his morning. Before any of the business or busyness of the day started, he got away to pray. He shows that if you want to master your morning, you actually need to master it with prayer. This is Jesus, the Son of God, who was doing really amazing things and knew all the answers already. And at the beginning of his day, what did he do? He got up to pray. He set aside those sacred moments, those hours before anything else were happening, and he got away to pray. So, do you want to be a sluggard? You want to let your summer slip away in laziness? I hope not. Okay, let's come back to that idea where we started at the beginning. Where I said, when you come to that moment when, it's important to actually have decided before that moment what you're going to do in that moment. When the temptation comes, it's critical that you and I have already made up our mind not to give in to that temptation. You see, temptation is when you are dragged away, or I am dragged away by an evil desire. Look it up in James chapter 1. This is how James describes temptation. He says, it's not God tempting you, right? James chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. So, it's not God tempting you, but each one is tempted when by his own evil desire he's dragged away and enticed. And then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Temptation is nothing to mess with. Sin is nothing to mess with. Some of you may have never seen the snooze button as a temptation before today, but I kind of want to change your perspective. I kind of want to invite you into looking differently at your morning. Because temptation, again, nothing to mess with. Sin, nothing to mess with. Sin drags you away, and when it's full grown, will give birth to death. Don't be dragged into the temptation to be lazy. Don't be dragged there. Listen, like what happened this summer, when you give in to laziness, it actually makes things more difficult, right? Temptation always promises, like, this is good, right? This will be great. You need more sleep. You'll be fine. You need this. But then what happens is you buy into that lie, and actually you get worse things as a result. So she bought into the snooze lie, and then found herself like going all crazy in the morning. She didn't have to. Don't be dragged into the temptation to be lazy. It really does make things more difficult if you live an unplanned, unfocused, and undisciplined life. We saw what happened to Summer. So, Summer failed at that moment to make her mind up ahead of time to not hit the snooze button. Now, this is what I want to encourage you to do. I want to encourage you to make up your mind, resolve in your heart to fight against laziness this summer. All right? The battle against laziness starts here. Okay? The heart is where all of your wants are, and the mind is where you make up the decision to follow your heart, right? And so you got to think through those feelings, those desires that you got. If you really want to live every moment for Christ, to not give in to the temptation to be lazy, then there's some things you need to do. You got to make up your mind to not be lazy, right? And you got to make up your mind to give every moment to Him. So I've got some practical suggestions on how to battle laziness. And here I'm gonna give you 5 things. So you got to make up your mind to, number 1, ask God for help. Seriously, ask God. Say, God, I don't want to be lazy. I need your help. And the truth is, God is the one who transforms our heart and our mind. God's been helping me in this. Right? I try to have like a 1 or 2 snooze morning, not like a 10 snooze morning. And I used to be a 10 snooze dude. But I've asked God for help, and He really has helped me become more disciplined. And I love my mornings. Seriously, love my mornings with Him. So make up your mind to ask God for help. Number 2, make up your mind to start every single day with prayer. If Jesus started there, I think we probably should too. He's the best. He's the master. Like, He has shown us the best possible way to live. So make up your mind to start every single day with prayer. Here's a practical suggestion. Jesus got a way to pray. And so if you're at your house, how do you get away? Well, I think number 3, you have to make up your mind to fight distraction. And one of the biggest ways that you can fight distraction in the morning is to not immediately get on to the social networks. Look, social networks are great. It's so great to be able to connect with your friends and see what they're up to see their funny snaps, to look at their Instagram and be like, oh my gosh, that's so artistic and amazing. I love the way you framed that flower in that coffee cup. Okay, anyways, that's good, but let God have the first word in your life. Number 3, make up your mind to fight distraction. Seize the day. You be the one who controls the first thoughts. Don't let social media be the one to control the first thoughts. You know what I'm saying? All right. Number 4, make up your mind to make a plan each day. There's an old saying that says this: fail to plan and you plan to fail. Seriously, the summer feels like a time when you don't need to plan, but that's a lie. If you're a Christian, every moment matters. So make a plan. And if you're like, I don't have a job, I don't have anything to do, well, ask God, what should my plan be? Should I plan to help someone today? Should I plan to encourage my parents? Should I plan to obey them? Should I plan to do some chores? Maybe I should plan to encourage a friend or something like that, okay? Make a plan every day. Ask God, what's something I can do for you? Certainly, you can play video games or something like that. Put it in your plan. All right, check. Done. Seriously, if you make a plan, it's really good. And then step number 5, don't just make the plan, do the plan. Execute it. Now, some of you are ready for this message, and others, you're comfortable in your laziness. You're comfortable living without a plan. You're comfortable as you fail to plan, planning to fail. And I just want to encourage all of you to not be comfortable with that, but to ask God for help, to start every day with prayer, to fight distraction, to make a plan and do the plan. Make up your mind, follow God in your heart, overcome the battle, the temptation for laziness, because you too will have that moment when you are tempted to hit the snooze. Now, tune in next week to find out what happens next in Summer's Day. I love you. Bye now.